It is Matt Mosley, and it is the Obstructed View podcast, and this is kind of the plausible live function with my man Mike Hamilton from Rogue Media Network. I do this like right after the game, then we put it up pretty quickly. We get it up there for you because apparently there are some folks who might care about my reaction. I was at kind of a watch party earlier tonight. In fact, it was a 60th birthday party. I'm not that old, by the way, but I do have friends that are older. And they were turning 60. And it was like a joint, a husband and wife. And the wife was Baylor person. There were a lot of Baylor people there. And so they had the game on. And then, of course, I was able to, and that was fun. But then and they had the game on and all that. But then I had to get home and focus and really focus on the game. I would say before I start reacting to this game, the Bears lose 43-21, and another miserable night for the Bears, and started off nicely, but they've, just keep finding different ways to lose. It has been the horrible starts, and this was a good start and then a horrible ending. And just a botched entire second half. And we'll get into that. I did start my day on a rare weekend that I didn't need to be in Waco for the pregame show. I made it into town because I attended a funeral, and I saw President Livingstone and Brad, and I saw Mark Roundtree, the former Baylor, just the head of the Board of Regents, chairman, and I saw the great Joel Allison, and we were at his wife's funeral, Diane Allison. His son Blake's a great friend of mine, but I bring this up because it was like an incredible showing of Baylor support. My parents were there. I saw David Nelson, Jim Turner. Just all the Dr. John Anderson, Rachel Anderson. Incredible outpouring of Baylor people. It just kind of reminded me of some of the reasons I love Baylor. And on a day where, of course, everybody was thinking about tonight and hoping the Bears could break through, but it was just a incredible service for a great woman who passed away, and just incredible family. And shout out to Blake, who listens to this podcast and listens to my radio show, and thinking about you guys tonight and in the coming days, because Diane Allison was a great woman, great grandmother, great mom, and a great wife. And Baylor family mourns her. And but again, we were able to gather together today, and it was with, it was a very sad day. It was a day to celebrate her life, and then it was time tonight to settle in for some Baylor football. And it started, I thought it sort of put things in a good mood, a good perspective for the team. Was the lead into that was watching, we were watching Vandy upset Alabama. And of course, the Baylor beating Iowa State wouldn't have been that big of an upset, but it just, I don't know, it put everybody in a great mood. There was a very festive atmosphere, and it's like, let's go. Let's see what the Bears can do. And sure enough, they hold early. They get a nice defensive stand. I mean, some of these players, we were still learning. I mean, Tavino, number 59 comes in, makes a big play. Stones on a 4th and 2, Iowa State. Bears go down and they score. They go down and they score again. And they're up 14-3, and a little bit feeling like maybe it did in Colorado. Could the Bears kind of, what have they found here? Are they possibly the better team on this evening? So many of those things. And of course, here comes Iowa State, and then a huge game-changing moment. Bears are in a pretty good way, up 14-6. They've held Iowa State to 2 field goals. There was some really good defensive stands down there to hold them to 2 field goals, and they get a punt blocked. Palmer Williams, who's one of the better punters in the country, they just crush him. they get back there. He doesn't really have a. I mean, like I think in a perfect world, if Palmer sees that kind of heat coming, you almost have to abandon what you're doing and get outside and either try to kick it, run it, whatever you can do. But he had no chance of getting the punt off. It's blocked. And then Tim Brando, who on the broadcast, and I like Tim. I used to have him on my radio show. Um, but he had an embarrassing night, and he credited a guy on the Baylor roster for the touchdown because the guy was 43. The Baylor player, Gavin Yates, is 43, who's a backup tight end. And Brando stayed confused most of the evening. Okay, maybe time for Tim to move on. But that was embarrassing for everybody involved, including the Bears. And so Bears, and they missed the extra point. And so Baylor's still, I mean, it's like even, well, and of course that one put them up 19-14. They had missed an extra point when they made it 14-12. And then so they get the 19-14 lead, and you still felt like, hey, this is okay. I mean, and they got a nice interception before the half. Garmin Randolph makes a big play, and you're thinking, okay, Baylor's got a shot here. And lo and behold, huge touchdown. Bears go up 21-19. And unfortunately, that was it. That was the night. It was over. So Baylor basically got outscored, if I'm doing my math correct, 40-7 after going up 14-3. They got outscored 40-7. They got blown off the field. A team that came out, was on top of things, jumped off to a nice start. And again, it's not the quarterback. I mean, he did have a bad throw, and they were still in the game. 4th and 2, he throws in the end zone. He had nobody there. Looked like he may have been able to run for it. But he's the guy throwing for, like 265, 270 yards. He's making plays. He made a beautiful play on a shovel pass on a play that had broken down on a 4th down play. He's got receivers that are trying to make plays for him. Howell and Ashton and Catron. I mean, the whole gang. They're fine. Michael Trigg's an excellent player. That's what kills you about this team is that there are a lot of good individual players. I mean, on the defense, the offense, but this team got just hit with a tidal wave in the second half. They couldn't get off the field. They're giving up huge plays. They have nobody back there. I got to say, I beat up on Devin Lemire lately, and he's a veteran player who, I don't think always delivers. Made a tremendous play down around the goal line in the first half, I believe it was, and that helped allow the Bears to hold them to a field goal in one of those possessions. I mean, just made a great play on the ball. But for the most part, in this game, whether it was, I mean, let's see, who was back there? 21 one time. 22 is doing the best he can. Reggie Bush the second, but they've got some young players that just aren't getting it done in the secondary, and it's not a good team. They end up getting beat 43-21 after leading 21-19 in that game. It's unfortunate that this team, I mean, like Iowa State may very well be a playoff team. They may win the conference. They may be really good. I kind of think they are. But the Bears showed you early in the game. I mean, they have some ability. They have some things. But, you know, what Mac Rhodes can't do, and what I know he won't do, there was a way to try to sell this to the fan base, of whether it be because of the money or bringing these players back or just, Dave deserved another shot, whatever the reasoning was. And they did some nice things in the offseason, got some momentum, and certainly even in not that long ago, they were getting some pretty good 2025 class. But 2-4, probably going to need to win 4 out of the next 6 games to keep his job, and it's not looking good. They got Texas Tech out there off the bye, And I mean, let's not act like this is some kind of great road team. They played well for most of a half tonight. And you got to start, at this point, 2-4, Mac Rhodes, we can joke about, oh, it's ready for basketball season, and that'll be fun. But Baylor's got to get this right. Mac Rhodes has to get it right. And, you know, he made whatever case he made to bring him back. Some of it made sense to me. I thought they should have moved on from him last season. They were 3-9, 1-7 at home. They had plenty of reason to get rid of him. Part of the reason to keep him, they owed him a bunch of more money. They had some really good young players in the secondary, and that was all fine. They brought in some nice players in the portal, and quite honestly, while they've been in some games, they got blown off the field in the first half against BYU. They got blown off the field in the first half against Utah. They got blown off the field in the second half tonight. So let's not act like, I mean, I think anybody that would suggest to you, oh, they're close or they're better or they're whatever, they're sort of past that. Dave will make somebody a a really nice defensive coordinator next year, and I don't know where that'll be. I mean, it might be SEC team, it could be, who knows, Auburn, or there'll be some opportunities out there. Missouri is struggling right now. They got killed by A&M today. There may be some opportunities for Dave. I mean, if Alabama keeps getting slaughtered like they did by Vandy, there may be an opening on the defensive side of the ball there. So Dave will have plenty of opportunities, but the Bears will have to start getting ahead. And what's interesting is there are more. What happens is, you had Napier, you had Sam Pittman, you have Dave Aranda, three big hot seats to begin the season. Pittman wins a huge game over Tennessee. Tennessee's top 5 team. I mean, number 5. They get beat tonight in Fayetteville. Hogs storm the field. Great scene there. And so Pittman, at least for now, can take a deep breath and feel good about things. And so Florida even beat UCF, pretty handily tonight. So maybe even Napier, at least for the time being, he's keeping the Wolves at bay. So, Dave becomes even more of a hot seat. Sonny Dykes has a hot seat at TCU. And that was a bad loss. I mean, Gundy has had such a great career at Oklahoma State, but that team was supposed to be in the thick of things for the Big 12 is a joke right now, and they're in a bad way. So, I think it's fair for Baylor fans to start thinking about, what's next and who is it going to be? GJ Kinney? Could it be Jamie Chadwell? Barry Odom at UNLV is an interesting name, and UNLV is a very interesting team right now to watch. And we'll see which of these Group of 5 teams kind of emerge. But Baylor can't keep. I mean, you can't do it based on, well, they had one good half of football or they looked a little better tonight. Baylor's found a couple things this year. We thought maybe DB was the best part of this team. They got just annihilated. The pass rush at times, especially against Colorado, they sacked Shador, Sanders 8 times, I believe. Didn't get close to Rocco Beck tonight. Didn't put, he sidestepped him. He ran. He completed balls downfield. I mean, let's think about this defense. This is supposed to be the brainchild, and they put this in Dave Aranda's hands. Well, Shador was obviously did some amazing things against them. Jake Retzloff from BYU looked like a all Big 12 quarterback. Rocco Beck made huge plays, and then we saw what a balance looks like. I don't even really have to have the numbers in front of me. I have the general idea of this. I think passing wise, they threw for 265 yards, 270 yards against the Bears, and they ran for somewhere in the neighborhood of 245 yards. You know what Baylor would give to have that kind of running game right now. They got a quarterback, Baylor does, that can run. He had, let's say 27 yards of rushing. They can't even get Richard Reese or Dom Richardson to the game. They can't even get them on the field. They're always hurt or something's going on with them. Um, Dawson Pendergrass gave it his best. Bryson Washington gets hurt on a targeting penalty, and so we hope he's going to be okay. He's had flashes. He's certainly like on that catch he made down the field. That was a gorgeous little thing where he kind of hid almost by the sideline and then caught the ball and then scooted up the field, and he gave Sawyer a good target there. There's some really nice things that he does, but for the most part, they don't have a running game, and that makes things tough. But the bottom line is, like it felt like Dave Aranda was kind of waving the white flag on his time at Baylor tonight. Fourth quarter, there was a 3rd and 1, and they didn't get it. And I don't know if it may have ended up being 4th and 1 or 4th and a yard and a half, and they just punt. They punt the ball away. At that point, it was like 33-21. They're still in the game, and they punted away. Down 19, a little later in the game, with, let's say, I don't know, 9-10 minutes left. They're down 19 points, and they got like a 4th and 4 in their own territory. But again, at their 30 or 40-yard line, it didn't matter really where they were on the field. You've got to go for it, and just punted, and it was like they were going to try to keep the score down. And Iowa State was just like, thank you for giving up on this game. And they can defend it however they want and say, oh, we got to put it in our defense's hands. Why? Your coordinator was not getting the job done. Your play caller, he's your head coach. He's all one man. And why would you put it in the hands of your defense when time and time again in the second half they were showing they couldn't hold up and they were giving up huge plays in the passing game? Jalen Jackson, who's kind of transferred around from different places, I think it's his third school at Iowa State. He's great. He's fast. He had like 13 carries for 115 yards. What Baylor would give to have like a back with that kind of quickness and that kind of explosion. They've got nothing like that. Baylor reminds me of the Cowboys. Kind of decent receivers, pretty good quarterback, no running game, no real explosion. Maybe a couple of receivers that are okay. So it's kind of the same. And sadly, both coaching staffs will be gone at the end of the season, probably. It's like I'll be pulling for them the rest of the season, but like if you want to be one of those Baylor fans who's just like, never give up and always, well, the coach gave up on his team, gave up on his players late. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why, like, what coach does that? What coach, like, down 19 just literally gives up and punts? So you're just like, well, I'm going to keep the score down at this point. Really? So you care that much about, instead of 43-21, you're worried about them maybe putting 50 on you or putting 48 or 49? Like, what's the problem? What's the problem? Like, are you going to get like less of a bonus? You're not going to get paid. So, you know, I I think Dave Aranda, much like Kevin Steele, will settle back into being a nice, successful defensive coordinator somewhere good. It'll be the Big Ten. Could go back to his old stomping grounds of Wisconsin. He could go back somewhere. Maybe he'll go, help Luke Fickell there. That's where he used to coach for Gary Anderson. But there's nothing left here. There's no huge help on the way. Like, I don't know, other than just sort of I don't know why anybody would have tremendous hope about going out to Lubbock and oh man, maybe the bye week, maybe they can get something accomplished during the bye week and be ready for Tech. That doesn't, none of that really computes, quite honestly. So um, it'll be a bye week. It'll be 2-4, and it's quite honestly a time when, yeah, they're not going to fire him during the bye week. I don't think they're going to make any changes. I don't think they're going to fire Spavital. I mean, offense, the passing game was fine. Quarterback's playing pretty well. But I mean, look at this program right now. They missed on their transfer quarterback. Already had the quarterback. I mean, like the least of their worries is quarterback right now, Sawyer. But they go out and they spend a ton of money on a kid from the MAC, and he busted out and is probably not going to see the field again this year. Um, it's a it's a bad it's a bad situation all the way to all the way around. So um, even the whatever you want to call it, the Pollyanna Baylor fans that are just like, oh, they were competitive or something. They're ready for a change. They're ready for a change, and no, none of the explanations. It's like I was kind of waiting tonight to see what Aranda said or what he offered and what he talked about at the locker room and all. And none of it matters. They continue to lose. They continue to, either get blown out in one half or the other half. And tonight it was in the second half. And so it becomes time that during this bye and next week, and again, one of the silver linings and positives to Dave Aranda serving on this committee, college football playoff committee, is he's watching a ton of football. He's getting to know a lot of these administrators and people that come from all kinds of backgrounds, all different colleges, all different conferences, and um, he's going to. I assure you, from knowing Mac like I do, that he's got a he's got names. He's already got names. They'll work on more. They'll look at it, and this next game will be interesting because they'll play against Joey, and there'll be a lot of Baylor fans who think, what if they had to hire Joey? There's even fans that say, go try to hire Joey McGuire away from Tech. I don't see that. I mean, I could you pay him a whole bunch of money? Sure. Could you pay him more than he's making at Tech? Maybe. Um, but Tech has huge money, huge backing. I mean, it's not like they're poverty stricken out there, and they're fine. They've got huge oil money and donors and everything. I mean, they just paid like $1 million for a softball player out there. All right, so let's not act like, oh man, we can just go money whip the Tech coach. I mean, the one thing Joey's done out there that goes so far against what Dave's doing right now is that Dave doesn't win really anywhere since that one really good season. It was a great season. We all enjoyed it, but since then, and Joey was a part of that season, by the way. Joey was on that staff and got hired away during that season. Joey wins a ton of ball games at home. He's probably I looked at this. I think he's kind of like I think he's like we'll see what they do as I'm taping this. They're playing. We'll see what they do, but I mean he's like 17-3 at home. I mean, and again, they're not been great on the road, and they've lost a lot of games. I mean, they go to bowls and everything, but he's doing out there what if Dave Aranda was doing it at Baylor, Dave would be fine. Nobody's going to run him off for winning 7 games or winning 8 games or whatever Joey's doing, winning 6 games. He didn't get. It was not a fun season after winning the conference to go 6-7, but everybody was fine. Everybody was ready to, kind of see what was next. And what Dave already has responded with season after season, it was like, it's just there's always somebody getting fired, and now they've kind of run out of people to fire other than him, because it was always like, okay, let's fire. Um, you know, I'm trying to think what he was doing his first year before they brought in Grimes, right? He's got Aranda. Oh, that was a mess. He had He had Larry Fedora, and he and Munoz couldn't get along, the passing game coordinator. So they had to fire. He has to fire them, and he has to fire his mentor after the 6 and 7. Ron Roberts is gone, the defensive coordinator, and then he has to demote his own defensive coordinator, make himself the defensive coordinator. And oh, by the way, he fired Grimes. Of course, Grimes has struggled at Kansas. So no stability to the staff. Fires somebody pretty much every year. Doesn't win. Like there's really nothing that you can hang your hat on. Doesn't promote the school. Doesn't promote the program. I mean, like the one thing you can say about like Matt Rule, Joey McGuire, others, like when they're just always trying to promote their program and all. And Dave, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody will hear this and go, "Oh, he does, he does, he goes to something." No, he does. I mean, like this year, he turned down all one-on-ones. Anybody that wants to go in there to write a story about Baylor, no, I don't have time. I don't have time to talk. Won't even talk to the flagship. Won't do a one-on-one with the flagship. Won't do one-on-one with the internet boys. So he doesn't. He's got zero interest in promoting the program, and he loses. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's the point here? I mean, I like him. I think he's smart. I think unfortunately he'll go somewhere and be a great coordinator, but it's not working as a head coach. And there's no like, hey Matt, just give him a chance. What are you talking about? Like he's had chances and every year but one. It's been kind of blah nothing years, losing records every year except one. When, if we're being honest, they had a great season. He did a great job with some great players that he inherited. All right, none of them he brought in, and those were guys that from a previous regime that were incredible, and a lot of them went in the NFL draft. Okay, Petrie and JT and Terrell and the whole gang, great players. So smart man, principled man, lot of traits, a lot of great traits. Like totally understand why he was hired. Okay, I don't really go at the time. I don't want to like act. This is an easy second guess to go. Oh, you should have hired Joey. I didn't totally think that at the time. I understand. I understand why Mac did this, but it's not working, and I think Mac knows he's going to have to make a change. So that's where we are, and that was just bad. As another get everybody's hopes up, and then just team flatlines and they lose going away. All right, they don't. Not only are they not competitive when you take in the whole game. I know BYU, they fought back and all that, and maybe you can say, well, if they beat Colorado, would things be different? Who knows? But I don't think so. Do we think they would have beaten BYU or they've beaten Iowa State just because they held on against Colorado? I don't think so. I think we'd probably be having a similar conversation. So, like a lot of these players, would love some of them to return. I hate that making a change, they're going to lose and not, part of the 2025, but for the betterment of the program and all the sacrifices and all the donations that have been made and the new development center, the Fudge Development Center. I mean, Jeremy hasn't told me this. Jeremy Fudge, he's a friend of mine, but he has to know. And he's great friends with Dave and has tremendous relationship with him. I know, but he has to know. I mean, all these guys have to know that the change has to happen. So I appreciate my man Mike Hamilton and everybody who stayed up late with us and on the Obstructed View podcast. It is another loss, 43-21. Things look bleak. Season's going away. It's 2-4. Tech looms. Tech's good. Maybe they'll lose tonight, but they're pretty good. And it's November. What is today? The 5th. We're less than a month away from basketball season starting. And really, for men's and women's basketball, that's what you have to look forward to. And they have a great volleyball program here, I should add. But that's it, man. Get ready for basketball. We'll continue to do this. We need to track this. We need to follow this team. We're not going to abandon this thing at all. But the Dave Aranda era has effectively come to an end. It is Mosley's obstructed view. Thank you for being with me. I'll talk to you next week.
We are Rogue Media Sports.